Welcome.
Hello.
Namaste. We have many of you
And
showing
you
up,
keep coming on.
and joining us for this Chicago Satsang, which is going to also be, it looks like, global.
That's what it
So
is.
I want to welcome you all for this, for us, late morning Satsang.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay. Hopefully we have at least some people from Chicago.
Lucy and Carl are waving.
Yes, that we see some. I see some hands waving. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Happy-
from Chicago. Hey.
Happy to see you, and I know I missed this opportunity to be with you. I had hoped to see you all there in Chicago again, but this is
But the Earth Mother had another
Yeah.
Mother had another
the
idea.
World Mother had another plan, and that's part of what we're going to be addressing, is that we can no longer do this by region or location. That we're coming into a time where all of us are needed all at once to align ourselves with the opportunity that this peril has brought humankind. And it is not without us knowing this was coming. It is clear that what I have been teaching for these 20 years is really an instruction manual for how to meet this cascading series of perils that are coming to humankind now. What's happening is we are in a transition in consciousness, and it's not going to go back. The World Mother is now empowered. She's brought forward her capacities to do for humankind that humankind could not do for itself. And it's funny how this has a great similarity to the spiritual process. That in fact, I was just talking to a gentleman yesterday where literally his whole life had collapsed around him. And it was at a point where he didn't know how to continue to live. And I was so thrilled to have that conversation with him, because he was in the greatest clarity of his life in the midst of that darkness. And for him, that was a personal peril, but it was set in motion by circumstances that started collapsing around him. And he's had some exposure with me, so he recognized that what he was experiencing was not ordinary, that it was a despair in the recognition that the way he had been living no longer works, and that there had to be another paradigm than the one he was still clinging to, still trying to figure out what he did wrong, still trying to fix, still judging and stuck in the consequences that were in his body now. So I can't tell you how wonderful it is. I know why Krishna smiled in the second chapter when Arjuna said, I don't know what to do. I don't know who will win over whom. I'm overtaken by faint-heartedness. I've lost access to the part of me that could do what I was doing before. Everything looks meaningless. I surrender to you. Please guide me on the right path. So I smiled. I smiled because I could see that whatever it was in him that reached out to me was the one that's capable of making it through this transition. And so it's true for each of us. The recognition of the collapse, the recognition of the world falling about all around us is evidence that the world mother has come forward in her authority to do for humankind what humankind could not stop doing itself. We've known of the possibility of this coronavirus for 20 years. Publications and warnings and fundings and research committees and analysis, how vulnerable humankind would be if a virus without any, where humankind has no immunity, a new one came into existence. And yet, look at us now, in the chaos of not having precaution. I mean, to have caution, not fear, caution, to have put in place an intelligent strategy should this happen. You know, this will happen with the next comet that doesn't miss the Earth. You know, there's so many things that are actually in peril at every moment without us knowing it as we blithely go through our everyday lives, doing the things we're used to doing and noticing this slow restrictions, slow limitations of options, like seeing friends, meeting at the coffee shop, things like that, traveling to another place, planning a vacation, this slow contraction in the unlimited options we've grown used to. It may feel like a curse, and I know every government is trying to do everything it can to bring it back to normal, quote, normal. And they will not succeed, because this is just the forward edge of a crumbling cliff that we've been heading off for decades. Behind this, of course, is climate change. And the reality that we are, by all measures, to whatever accuracy science can have, at the tipping point. Depending upon which you read, it's either now or 5 years from now or 9 years from now, where that would be the tipping point. But the tipping point is already with us because scientists doesn't know. Science is not the God we imagine it is. Technology is not the powerful tool that'll fix everything for us. We have to come out of our blithe denial of the fact that the world that we've been living is no longer sustainable. And that we each have a role to play, both as human beings and as awakened spiritual beings. Because every peril, every crisis, be it your personal crisis in the moment of your dejection, where you are actually in the ignorance that has shaped your life up until that point, where you have lost the ability to not collapse into that part of us that we were unwilling to meet or did not know how to be with. Our accumulated avoids the void, where when we're there, the consciousness has very little power. It's lost in the asat, our own personal piece of the ignorance. But what allows for that is what the same kind of pressure that converts coal into diamonds. It is the necessary cauldron by which consciousness is forced to wake up in ways that it hadn't waken up before. New ways, new paradigm, a new way of looking, a new way of holding what's happening, a new capacity to respond and not react. Finding a strength from within to tap into this current that already lives us, that actually in the biological parts of us draws its strength from the world mother. So we are all expressions of what the mother is doing for the world right now. We are all linked to her as agents, as human beings, acting as an intermediary between the ignorance of matter and the possibilities of spirit. And we have given too much emphasis to matter as a species. We have made matter everything. We have made the sensory pleasures, the enjoyments, the momentum of the prosperity at all costs, releasing the animal spirits in our economy. So it's blindly going like a cancer cell, growing for the purpose to grow, wanting for the purpose to want more. That this endless consumerism has made matter a beast that's eating the whole world. And the world is finally responding in a way where it's in our face. We're not going to be able to go back to how we were or how it was. All we can do is leap into a new possibility that is not yet necessarily clear. And that was the same thing for this, for this fellow who is in the midst of his dejection. I know it was an hour conversation, and then probably the first half an hour, he couldn't hear what I was saying. It was clear that it was so deep, so convincing, so gripping, that that spark of himself couldn't even receive that which would have allowed for him to come out of where he was. But by the second half, it started showing, it started receiving, and I could see the role Krishna plays for an Arjuna. That they bring in a consciousness that we don't have in those moments where it's too dark. Even if it's the most important moment of our entire life, if we don't have the presence, we don't have the strength, we don't have the consciousness to meet it, it will overtake us and we will be collapsed. So we have to reach out for a force greater than us. And for most people, they don't even know they're reaching out for a force greater than us. That force has to actually come in some tangible way so that we can open to it. And that's the role of peril. That's the role of crisis. That's the role of where we are as a species, as a civilization that carry this enormous possibility of bringing humankind together. And it's just at the time when this great new world order that came out of World War II had passed its peak and was ending up to go down the inevitable track when Rajas becomes Tamas. So our full capacity is not there. Our full set of skills that we had 2 decades ago or a decade ago is not there. There are people sounding the alarm, and the alarm of the alarm, the emergency crisis. It is on fire. Our house is on fire. And still people are going blithely along. What is this in humankind? It's not our fault. In fact, this entire transition is something that was destined, that was inevitably going to happen. Because this is how this creation is. It has its cycles. Cycles of ascension, cycles of expansion, cycles of collapse, just like the seasons. So we're in the cycle. We're heading into a winter in the material plane, but with the opportunity is a spring in the spiritual plane. And that's the paradox of dejection. It can go and hide out and suffer in diminishment and pain the rest of its life, or it can shift and create a complete new paradigm, a new way of being, a new way of living that brings forward the new consciousness that is always the opportunity of these moments of peril, in these periods of ordeal, when either internally or externally our world collapses and we lose access to the skills and the tools and the effectiveness we had in our previous life, in the previous state of consciousness. In part now because the material world's not going to be able to hold it, but also in part because of our own ignorance has now overtaken whatever piece of spirit we had carried with us as a species. This is why now the Bhagavad Gita is so relevant. Those of you who have read the book, you'll understand that the entire moment of dejection was the beginning of the revelation of the Bhagavad Gita. And where was that happening? It was happening in actually the body of Arjuna, which includes the mind and the vital and the physicality of our investment in physical life, in our bodies and in matter and our relationships in the world. It was all that. So where the battle is actually going on that matters for each of us is within ourselves. You could say that we're on this great gigantic bus heading down the track of existence. We all have steering wheels. Every person in the bus, like a little kid, a stroller, where they have a steering wheel where they can feel like I'm in control, right? I go left and I go right, and then if it happens, it doesn't necessarily happen. It's always random. Turn left, you go right, you turn right, you go left. Well, that's how it is for us because we're disconnected. We're disconnected. That place where the steering wheel is connected to the shaft, where the wheels change direction, is not connected. So when do we learn how to ride a bike or steer a bus? It's when we get connected. And what do we get connected to? Where we're going. You know, you got people on this bus of humanity turning this way and turning that way and turning this way and pulling back and putting on the brakes and putting on the gas pedal. None of that is connected. So as a species, we have this tremendous power to change the direction of where we're headed if we could get our act together. If we could get connected individually, and then we could get connected to each other. Otherwise, it's just going to go downhill until the cliff comes. It's going to be lemmings as a species going off the cliff. And we're carrying with us all other species, all other expressions of the divine world mother with us. Many have already been pushed over. 60% of vertebrates worldwide have gone extinct since 1970. Thanks to humankind, endless, random, boisterous consuming of everything. We have an economy that's faltering because there's no one consuming at the same rate they were consuming before. It's not going to be possible because it's not sustainable. And the fact of the matter, there is somebody in charge other than us. And what we can say to that is thank God. Thank God. Because, man, even if we could get our act together, it doesn't look good. So the Bhagavad Gita is about linking into an authority, a truth, quality of consciousness that's greater than ours, both as a species and in our own individual awakening process. Because as I say in the Bhagavad Gita, dejection is a constant companion. Because every time our consciousness rises and we come out of the previous dejection, we see more clearly. And when we see more clearly, what do we see? The remaining darkness. And it's not just seeing, it's completely meeting the remaining darkness. So for every up, there will be a down, until at some point in the journey of consciousness, it becomes stable and there's a continuous ascension that's going on. But that stability, that ability, what the Gita calls sthiti prajan, stable intelligence, occurs when our outer actions align with our inner truth, with our lived life, with the facts and the reality of what we're capable of and what are the opportunities before us. So it's really about clear seeing without an agenda or a projection or trying to hang on to something or get something. So the Gita is all about this. It's all about learning to prepare our personhood to be a vessel for this greater authority to come into existence. Because from that state of consciousness, from the Krishna state of consciousness, from the consciousness of God, the consciousness of truth, our actions are going to be connected. So that when we intend to go one way, it actually starts shifting everybody going that way. That's the possibility. We are all actually not 7.6 billion different people with steering wheels. We're one species. If enough of us all decide to turn in the same direction and are connected, the whole bus will move. And that is fact what has to happen now. And this is why I'm talking to all of you. And hopefully you can recognize that's why you're listening. Because you're looking for information on how to do this. When my awakening happened, I was a happy, middle-class architect. I had my structures of adaptation. I had, yes, rich experiences and all of this, but I was perfectly content in my agnostic point of view. His life is whatever it's going to be, and I'm going to do what I need to do, and then I'll die, and I'm fine with it all. So when my awakening happened, in that moment, and this is a recent realization, because it was so overwhelming ever since then that I couldn't language this. I realized God was real. That it was really there. That there was an intelligence. That there was a purpose. That we were not alone. That we were swimming in an ocean of this intelligent purposefulness. Thinking we're separate, miserable. Creating as much trouble as we possibly can. Not recognizing how we're affecting each of us in our interrelated wholeness, each other. Creating agreement for error, agreement for indulgence, agreement of how you're supposed to be, which is more, be part of the consuming machine. It's a continuous bombardment, even on the internet. Ads every 5 seconds. You can hardly read the thing you're trying to read. We're teaching every one of our species to be a consumer. Even those who never knew about consuming are learning through the internet how to consume. So what's happening is the bus is turning in the direction opposite of where it needs to go. What's surprising to me is God took so long. The world mother took so long to step up and let us know in ways that our material mindedness could get. Don't leave your house. Shut up, be still. Quit doing all the things you do. Get simple. Be practical. You're impacting everybody around you, and everybody around you is impacting you. Anybody could be carrying the coronavirus. But let it not be fear, because fear will perpetuate the same error. Let it be caution. Let it be the recognition of the fact that your world has changed. And this talk is about recognizing that this change is not going to go away. Now, all of you have come to some degree of spiritual awakening. You wouldn't be interested in this if you weren't. Some of you are actually been empowered and can feel the current of the purpose of your birth and are motivated to partake in this synergetic realignment of consciousness, of the collective consciousness. But what has to happen is inevitably the bad news has to be gotten. You got to get it. Otherwise, you get down close to it and you leave prematurely, it still will come back like a weed where you cut it off at the surface, but the roots are still there. We have to really be able to become skillful in recognizing our limitations, to recognizing our ignorance, to recognizing how we're still operating from a conditioned perspective that's based on accumulated experiences and teachings and learnings of our previous life. So in any one moment, we are carrying, even if our intelligence is clear, our body and our emotional body and the chakras and all of it is carrying the contractions and the restrictions and the distortions of the choices that we made that were not aligned with the purpose of this age, the Dharma of this age, this new Dharma that needs to emerge, as it did for Arjuna there at the beginning of the second chapter where Krishna smiled. Now, it's not about Arjuna winning the battle. It's about Arjuna becoming into a quality of consciousness that recognizes everything that's arising as the opportunity to succeed in coming into existence as truth, aligned with the potential every human being carries to live aligned with that truth Dharma, that Satya Dharma, that greater Dharma. To go into the battle without an investment of winning and losing comes not because you try to make that be true for you. It comes because the very quality of your consciousness wakens to the point that it's continuously burning in you, allowing you to see through the falsehood, perceive the error, and to change your actions so that they are aligned with this new Dharma. The Bhagavad Gita tells us how this is done. It describes the stages. It outlines a path that isn't Bhagavad Gita or Hinduism or Vedas. It is really a languaging for understanding that there is this journey of consciousness that we all travel, and that it has stages and symptoms, and there are ways that we can collaborate with the unfolding of that just supreme, extraordinary, unspeakable magnificence that lives as a potentiality inherent in each of us. That supreme being that the whole Gita points to again and again and again, so that we can discover our true authority, this ability to make the difference, the ability to align ourselves with this life we were born into, so that we're not only correcting our own personal actions, but we're impacting everybody connected to us, and in the process, connect others who are doing the same work and start shifting the consciousness for all of humankind. So I'm speaking because this is truth. It's speaking from that place of consciousness that said, my God, what the fuck, God's really here. My arrogant Western agnosticism, the hubris of thinking all there is us human beings, and therefore there are no gods, only us are gods, we're the gods. The hubris of ego, blowing it out and said, no, wrong. There is a much greater order here than you even can barely hold. I know that I saw the Supreme Being in those first few minutes when the state came in, and it knocked me out. I flat unconscious. I could not hold it. I now see that it was the Supreme, the Sat. I now know it's the Sat, but all I could know was the lesser versions, which came later, where the World Mother started lifting her skirt and revealing all her qualities, so that I could be intimate with her in ways I never even imagined was possible. And my mind, my human, agnostic, Western, hubris, white male mind couldn't get it. But my body got it. My consciousness got it. And I've really got it. And you really are getting it if you'll align yourself with the part of you that is. If you recognize that you carry within you the possibility of being an agent for the Supreme Being and the purpose of the World Mother, yeah, you'll have a perspective. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy your breakfast. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy conversations and movies and all that. All these things are possible. No one's saying no to that. They're just saying on the real important things, like the things you make important, let they be set up first, and those lesser things down the list of importance. To focus yourself on the fact that every one of you who are awakened actually have a responsibility, not just for yourself, though also for yourself, because that's where we can start growing in our ability to be responsive to our role in existence. And that will have us take actions beyond our little conditioned habitual self. We start doing things we would never have done from our egoic paradigm. We start making sacrifices way outside of the boundary of what we could do before because we were still clinging to our past and afraid of our future being any different than the way we wanted it. So I'm a little bit like Greta, right? She's this little 15, 16-year-old bomb, catalytic force that penetrated right into the core of that part of every parent who has had a child, to every part of us that is concerned for our children. Those of us and most humanity is still in that paradigm that their highest truth is their children or their relationship. So she came in through that avenue and said, your house is on fire. Save your children. Wake fucking up, you ignoramuses. Quit doing what you've been doing. Now we've known this, we've heard this, but for some reason now the world mother has a little more juice. She's got a little more punch. And it's growing. She's finding her legs and she's pulling out her weaponry and say, no way, children, are you going to eat up my garden? And that's what's coming. I invite you to hold everything that's coming as a purposeful opportunity for the collective consciousness to shift. And that we are no longer going to be able to do things as we have. Now, it was really discouraging the other day, and we were on a walk here in the high desert. We looked up in the sky, and there were 18 contrails going in and out of the Reno airport.
I don't know that.
That's what I counted. I counted 18. There could have been more, could have been less. I don't know. They all were all separate. And I recognize they're trying to come back. The idiots. They're trying to keep a step back into the same error of the past, which is try to meet the problem that was created by the very consciousness that's trying to make it fix it. Now, the economy is going to collapse worldwide. I just want to be clear. There's no way the momentum of what had happened collectively is going to be sustained. It's going to lose its impetus. It's going to lose the capacity to respond to all the work opportunities that had existed previously. We're not going to recover in any period of time. And when we start recovering, we have the consequences and the cascading effects of the climate crisis coming. Yeah. I invite you to be looking into the abyss. I invite you to use your awareness to look into the abyss, but not to be overtaken, but to understand and recognize its nature. And that is what the Bhagavad Gita points to. It points to creating a new paradigm for the crisis that's arising so that you can hold it where before you couldn't. You would have been overtaken. This ability to expand into our integrated consciousness, the evidence of what's coming is through each of us becoming a means that will help guide the intelligence of people who are open and in a position of influence to affect change in the collective consciousness. You know, even in the Bhagavad Gita is in the tail, well, about the 7th chapter of a 18th chapter. I'm not sure how exactly. It's about 2/3 of the way. And the Bhagavad was the great battle. It's the great battle from ignorance to knowledge, from separation to oneness. And the Gita was that transitional trigger point where all the factors that have come before are coming forward in order for that the battle can be fought. And what is the thought? It is to recognize the error, to withdraw our consent to let it continue to run existence. And that includes perhaps the destruction of some parts of that previous error that needs simply to be eliminated. Unfortunately, as in all processes, there are always collateral damage. And here, the collateral damage is the biodiversity of the planet itself. So we have to stop. And that's basically what the Gita is doing. It's telling us to individually stop, pay attention, wake up, discover how you're perpetuating the error, discover what in you is still holding the error in place. This was the second chapter was all about. It was pointing to the work that comes after you recognize your own abyss, your own despair, your own dejection. And that is to bring ability to see and hold a larger picture of what has just happened to you in order to take new actions or to restrain from old actions so that that knowledge could become more real for you, so that it can become more and more lived. And those actions that you take that are aligned with that new way of being, new way of living, empowers that knowledge to become more available to you. And then that becomes the most important thing, to feel the quality of the awakening of the truth of yourself becomes more fulfilling than the old ways of fulfilling the habits of yourself, the structures of yourself, the defense and the graspings and the clinging of your old patterns. It becomes truer. And when that becomes truer, we automatically start relinquishing the old ways. Donald Trump and, a whole number of governors in the United States said, hey, open up, go back to work, because otherwise things will go bad. Even when that's out there, 60% of the people say, I'm sorry, you're a little crazy. It's not safe for me to go out yet. I mean, even in the collective ignorance, which is like 80% of the people, they say, it doesn't sound like a good idea to me. So there is this recognition that there is another way that needs to happen than the old way that some of the greatest fervent perpetuators of driving the bus off the cliff want. So this process of relinquishing the old, of letting go of the old, has two parts. One, we quit giving consent to the negative patterns and structures of our self-diminishment. We begin to catch ourselves in the act of reacting and being overtaken by programming structures that we've taken on and believed were ours. This dismantling of our ego as the dominant indicator of truth or untruth, and using our being, our awakening being, to be able to discern truth from untruth. And that process brings us, this relinquishing process brings us to the truth of our being, which is in the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, where all we have to do is sit and be quiet, and a peace and a relaxation and a silence and a stillness comes to us. Now, for many, they may think this is good. Hey, I'll just get a cottage in the woods and I'll hang out and I'll have my garden and I'll go shopping now and then and meet friends in the coffee shop, and it'll be good. I'll just skate through the rest of whatever life is going to bring to me. Ha, 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 ha. So you may think. That may have been possible a couple of decades ago, but it ain't going to happen now. So therefore, what's happening is the universe is saying, okay, this is good, but it's not enough. And it's going to bring the next layer of lessons that are not just our own, but part of the collective consciousness which we are linked to. And we start going through our new phase of dejection as our little individual self transitions into a universal self. That which keeps small, that prefers our happy spiritual practice and our company and the things that we do to keep ourselves feeling sattvic. And it's going to make it no longer working. That's what happened with this person that came to me. They're actually in the transition towards the universal. but it's happening simultaneous because there was part of his individual that hadn't caught up yet with what he'd come to. So this is a there's varying difficulties depending upon how aligned we have gotten to our own individual journey, coming to our individual awakened state. And that's the first third of the Bhagavad Gita. It's actually the longest number of verses, the most that we actually here in the West know what spirituality is about. It's about getting to that place of self-awareness where you can rest in your own self-awareness in your little cabinet in the woods and nothing can fuck with you. You can feel good and safe and comfortable, and you got a strategy for slipping out the door without anybody noticing. But that is not the shorter part of the remaining 12 chapters of the Gita. That is when we call up the potential, which is more available to us, to actualize our awakened being for the world, to become a willing vessel and channel so that the world mother or the supreme being can use us. And that is what is happening to all of you. It's either the first awakening with a little bit of the universal awakening, or it's the universal forcing you out of your little cottage in the woods. Not only physically, but in the way you were holding existence. And this process is strengthened as the Bhagavad Gita starts showing us. Every time we meet the next layer of remaining darkness. You can go out and read what others have been saying for decades about where we're going now with both coronavirus and the upcoming depression, that the bubble of the financial market was not sustainable, that the bubble of consumerism is not sustainable, that unbounded rights with no responsibility is not sustainable, inequality is not sustainable. These are realities the outer world is showing us, but there are also the match that we all carry that's still in it for itself. What can I get? And this is what will be demonstrated when you begin to realize the consequences of what's happening in the world. It's where your own individual happiness cannot be sustained when you're in touch with the anguish that's going on in the creation and in humankind. That you're no longer going to be comfortable into your little cabin in the woods. You're going to want to be able to be useful, to play a part, to have a piece of the work that's needed that you can make real for you. And this is what those remaining chapters of the Gita do. They take us out of our individuality and we become God. That's the first, and become the vast, spacious, that all-pervading Vasudeva, the Brahman. Either of those. And that, then you start coming to the true authority that each of us human beings can be. And then we are automatically pushed into the last part of the Gita as we begin to understand the nature of the unfolding of the error and the opportunities it brings. And it's the quality of our consciousness that allows that to be effective. It's not the information, it's not the education, it's not the set of rules you might take on from reading the Bhagavad Gita. It's not the shoulds and shouldn'ts. It is a quality of me that gets it and starts tapping into a current, a purposeful current within our body, within our intelligence, within our whole system that allows us then to become channels and instruments for the Supreme. Now, how many of us are going to make that whole transition? I don't know. I didn't think I had much hope. I didn't know that was where it was going. But there were many times where I thought this whole thing, going to India and doing the spiritual thing, was like a bad idea. I assure you, there was a lot of bad idea coming up while I was doing the right thing. So it's really hard to stay with what looks like to be the wrong thing because it's a bad idea based on your old paradigm. So that was my battle. And that'll be your battle. That'll be your battle as you have to keep moving through your doubt and your suspicions and your distrust and your preferences for having it different than the way it's showing up. These roots are deep. The weed of your ego is got deep roots, and they're not just yours. They're connected to the whole mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and on and down the whole ancestry is the roots. So you're not going to be able to pull the roots out. All you can do is cut them. Cut them in yourself. And that's the 15th chapter of the Gita, where it talks about the imperishable tree, where the roots above and branches below, and the roots below and the branches above tangle up and together into what we call Maya, the illusion of separate existence. And what do you do with that? You take out your machete and you just hack away. You're cutting the roots, both towards spirit and both towards matter, because those roots are your ego laying claim to either kingdom. And that letting go allows you to restore that eternal, unchanging, imperishable quality that you are and be more and more useful. And these weeds keep popping back up if you haven't really cut the roots. So yeah, you may think you pulled out that issue in reaction to women or your issue in reaction to men, but it keeps sneaking up because it's not yours. It's in the collective consciousness. So even if your root is cut, you're still going to pick up what's still there in the collective consciousness. And the thing that's so interesting about that is that's how you're serving the world, because you can eat a poison the rest of the world can't eat. You cannot be overtaken by what the rest of the world gets overtaken by when you come to that state. So they're constantly hacking every day, catching yourself, the roots resprouting, or the patterns you're picking up from the people you're sharing the house with, or the people that you walk are exposed to when you meditate online even. There is this continuous process where we're tangling ourselves with each other based on patterns of attraction or repulsion. And we're doing that if we don't learn to stay connected to that uncontaminated, eternal purity of truth and unconditional love. That truth is. Don't be clear. Truth is love when we're living aligned with truth. It's an enormous love. It's a huge love. It's the love of the Supreme Being. It's the love of the incarnation force. It's the love that had Krishna come to earth again and again, being utterly free, choosing to be bound. So that from within it, from the holocaust of being bound, to be able to lift the collective consciousness out from it. That's what the principle of the avatar of the incarnation is all about. And I'll tell you, I know directly, you can't have one Krishna anymore. You have to have millions of Krishnas. Because what we're needing to shift has immediate consequences in the near future. Near future. Probably before most of us die. They'll be coming, and this is one of the cascades of what's coming. So there's never been a more important time in human history than this time, which may very well be the end of time. End of that can keep track of a thing we call time. So this is a peril of order that has never had to be ever asked for from humanity, which has mostly been in its childhood or adolescent stage. We have very few adults as awakened human beings. We need a lot more grown-ups. A lot more people who make it their responsibility to take the action that needs to be taken. And you're going to hear this again and again, so you may not want to keep listening to these programs. That's why we're making them free, because you think maybe, hey, I'm going to hear something I want to hear. No, this is not candy cane distribution. This is not sugar coated. This is sharpen your swords. Practice your shooting of arrows. Truth, consciousness. So if you can feed off of this, if you find something in you enlivened, well, then this is the right program for you. because that means the supreme in you is gearing up, strengthening. And in your own evolution, in the 100,000 lifetimes you've lived, this is the time to get it done. This is time to finish it. There's no better time, as Krishna said. How fortunate is a warrior who gets a battle where Dharma can be restored. How lucky you are to have such a crisis that there's no denying of it. Yay. Hallelujah. There it is. Okay. That's it. That's today's, transmission message, whatever you think it is. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open it up. Satchami, I wanted to ask you. You've been really eager.
You're asking me a question?
Yeah. What do you see? What's there for you?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah, I know. You should have heard her earlier in the day. I was saying, hey, you should lead this program. I need to get her to start talking more.
Gita and I are working on something.
All right.
Antonia, who I don't think is here today. But yes, we're working on something that's more along the lines of the world mother and bringing the feminine principles in. So yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, very good. All right, well, more will be revealed as you come forward and share. And so the idea of what you come forward to share is you raise your hand, or the little hand signal on the Zoom where you raise your hand, either one. And then it's not going to be me who brings you on. It'll be the audio video crew behind this.
I am going to make us, so it does line you up and you'll all see who's in line for the call, but sometimes we pick and choose. So I just wanted to let people know that, just in case.
Yeah.
So, you may be number 3, but you may end up being number 1, or you could be number 5. It just depends on who Shree decides to call, because sometimes there are people that come up that he particularly wants to work with. Okay.
All right.
So first up, we have Colette.
Colette.
That's my middle name.
Hey,
Colette, nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Have we met before?
Yes, very briefly in your open satsangs in Tiru.
Oh, all right. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So here we are all back in the US.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, thank you so much for making this available. I've been following your work for some time. I was actually in Tiru at the same time you were, because I was coordinating an event for another teacher, but I kind of snuck in after satsang to Ramana Towers and greatly appreciated your offerings. So thank you.
Okay.
So over 30 years ago, I had a series of visions that were forgotten for some time, until a few months ago when I happened to walk past the television that was on and saw these tent hospitals. And then the whole vision came back, the series of visions came back, which were about tent hospitals and my involvement in something that was going on. It wasn't really clear. So that sort of solidified the significance of what was going on. I mean, I had a great sense of that beforehand, but it kind of put the whole thing in perspective. And, I'm sitting in a place where as profound and somewhat dire as these visions were, there's no fear there. There's no fear of a virus. The fear is that we may go back. We may be forced back into this existence that was so soulless.
Perfect. I just want to stay there for a minute, because that part of you that knows what to fear and what not to fear is right there in the Bhagavad Gita, where the knowledge comes to someone, where the thing that those who are still shaped by matter want, one who's awakened doesn't. And for someone who's vested with matter that it is the day, it's their light, it's what they live for, would rather live in the dark. So it's this part of you that's able to discern what is true and what's not, relative to a sensed purpose of where we need to go. Is that not so? That
Yes.
sense purpose of where we need to go has two aspects: despair and opportunity. It could go to despair and we could get overtaken because it's not going the way we know it needs to go. And that's often a trigger for dejection. Many young people, like Greta Thunberg, is triggered by that is not going where it needs to go. And the other side is the recognition of those opportunities that are unfolding for that to unfold aligned with that purpose. So I wanted to point to that purpose because I suspect you can feel that purpose.
Yeah.
Can you feel it right now? You've got a lot of courage. You got a lot of moxie. I like this quality in you that's able to come forward. This is the piece of the world mother that you carry. And it serves. It's looking to serve. It's looking to empower. It's looking to be useful. Am I speaking to you? Did I say these words?
Yes, quite.
Good. And that quality in you, I want you to pay attention to, because the opportunity of our relationship is for me to continue to empower that in you so that you can become a more dynamic and capable instrument and channel for that to come into your world that would allow you then to see where you're still hiding out, where you're still protecting yourself, where you're still trying to control outcomes, where you're still vested, attached to, so that that can be set aside and allow the universe to have its will with us, have its way through us. So this is how you take what you've got and you grow it. And you grow it because every time you take an action that's aligned with that, when you meet the next piece of obscurity or darkness or repulsion or reaction, the current accelerates. It gets stronger. It gets more intense. It becomes more you. So that the person of you becomes this principle. And then she runs the show. Okay? Go ahead. If there's something else there, I know. Go ahead.
What I wanted to ask you about was this current that for the last, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks has been making itself known in an absolutely undeniable and kind of shocking way at times, these breakthroughs of current, like literally current.
Yeah, I'm watching it happen in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when I'm in the presence of truth is when it's really set off. But it's never been as physical as it is now. And I just wanted to understand a little bit more about that, if you have any light to shed on that.
Absolutely. You're knowing it, what it is. I call it the world mother getting her legs under her. She is now intervening. And therefore it's affecting matter. It's affecting our bodies. It's affecting the ability of the body to receive this corrective force, this new truth consciousness that's coming, that's going to allow mankind to make this what will be a miraculous shift. But it may have devastation in the material plane, but it'll be a miraculous shift in consciousness. So it's becoming more real, not just for you. I'm experiencing this because this very modality we're doing right now, where we're contacting over 100 people sitting in our one room of our house, and you sitting in your house receiving it, is allowing for something amping up of the effectiveness of the transmission of the new consciousness. I'm experiencing it too. So We're all we're one species that are actually waking up together. And those of us who are more awake are more aware of that waking up process occurring within us. So that's what it is, Colin.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you, Satamai, also.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to 5 minutes because we have a lot of people who want to get up here today. So, okay.
Next, we have Sarah.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Good to see you again.
Hello. Hi.
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 Good seeing you again.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I felt a lot of resistance now coming today forward. So I really need this. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Good,
know.
good for you to not let the resistance determine your action.
Exactly. So I know I say, okay, I get to show up today. And I was hoping nobody was going to call me. So I'm just going to go straight at what's happening here.
Good.
Okay. I did it a 9-day retreat that was incredible. With everything that's happening, the code virus and all this, actually, I felt, and I've been feeling such a beautiful space of like, oh my gosh, like finally something's coming. Finally, this is happening.
Real coming, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, driving across town and finding places to go hike that is not really a set trail. I could make my own trail. And I wanted to even camp in my backyard. That usually I have never done camping before, but I want to go camp. And yeah. I set up my tent. So, but then now we are going back. And I feel like I don't want to go back.
Yeah, there you go.
To that.
Yeah, feel that.
So what's been happening is, in my system, I feel almost like something's pulling. It's almost like a quicksand. You know, you're going forward. I'm aligning with my supreme self, Sat, divine Ma. I call her divine Ma, divine mother. Divine Ma, divine Ma. I call her quite a bit. And I feel like something's like, no, it's too dangerous. It's not safe.
Yeah.
And I've been experiencing a lot of allergies that I had for a long time, a lot of image that comes with that. And I really want to, clear and go through whatever I'm going through right now.
Very good. So that what you went through in the 9-day lifted your consciousness to the truth of what you are. But then inevitably, what's still left in you still has influence, even though your consciousness has transcended it. It can become just a bypass, because ultimately the reason we awaken is to awaken the unawakened parts of ourselves. And it's not anything we do, it's what will happen. And therefore this going back into the old world, the old life, for you is an existential crisis to that awakened part of you. But it's very scary for the unawakened, abandoned, childlike parts of you that has not yet been able to integrate what has happened in your waking. So welcome to the rest of your journey. It is going to be up and then down. And you'll sure everything's lost and it's no, just retreat into the usual past ways of keeping obscured and distracted so you don't have to experience your dejection. And then you'll surprisingly just start coming up again. Just be one day. The more aligned we are, the shorter the period of time that we suffer. No, because it's not as necessary. See, the thing is, all we really need to do is dip into the content that's arising in the moment, and we'll immediately return back up. So we take a small meal rather than try to eat the whole meal of the unmet parts of our elephant, the unmet parts of the things we don't want to be with. So we just dive into it and then come out, meet it, see it, but not allow it to lay claim to our consciousness. And how do we do that?
Yes.
By recognizing it. And then saying, no, I withdraw my consent from letting that determine how I'm going to act or how I'm going to look at life. You'll discover this power to cut the error. so that you don't have to get overtaken. You can see it, you can experience it to the capacity you can, then wait to another time because you'll ascend. Where it comes up again, you'll notice you'll have greater strength. You'll be more familiar with that creeping negative quality of fear and resistance and reaction. And that will keep strengthening you. So you learn to fight this battle. You fight the battle by doing battle, not by planning it or making a strategy. But it's good to understand what this is. And then you're going to get it for yourself each day. What did you do today? You chose to be on the program and chose not to listen to your resistance. That's what you continue to do. Because you have to build the strength to what has come. It's still new.
Okay.
Read the Bhagavad Gita. Read the mother book. Write it. Make it real for you. All right, my dear.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Next, we have Monique.
Monique, welcome.
Hello.
Namaste.
Monique, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also happy to see you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what I want to ask now, but a lot has happened since the retreat. It was really great at first after it, and then everything collapsed. I was,
right.
yeah, it was really
That's
heavy
exactly what
physically.
happens. That is what happens. It's what is evidence that you actually got the value, that
Yeah.
you come back and there's a collapse. Because before it was just your ordinary life. Before it was the things you lived with, put up with. So every time you have an exposure where your consciousness lives, it looks like a collapse from this place, but it's actually higher than you were from before. But it's
Yeah.
hard to tell because it feels so diminished from what had just come. But in fact, that's where we misjudge that we're making progress, is that we're actually seeing the error more clearly and therefore it seems more convincing, but in fact, we're transmuting it. It's becoming something new by being where we are without trying to fix it or change it, not to get discouraged, not to project that discouragement into a negative future or to judge yourself about how good or ready you are for this.
Yeah, I have to say it scared me a little bit because I didn't feel, I felt really weak. I felt like physically really weak. And really like my heart was broken. I was so sad for months. But at the same time, it was okay because you told me I had to feel it. So weirdly enough, it was okay. But yeah, I've been kind of out of my practice since the retreat. There hasn't really been a practice at all. So,
And
yeah.
that's what we have to do. And you know, we fall in order to get up. We don't fall to stay defeated. We fall to develop the skill to get back up. I always notice that when people like yourself take a break after getting first exposed to me, they integrate what's going on to what had happened to them more into their lives from the retreat so that it becomes part of them. So you don't even know you've changed because the very vibration that you were before is now, you're no longer there, but it's not yet clear the shift you've already made. When you were sharing about the grief, there was a kind of a smile that came up in your face about, oh, I had permission to experience the grief. That quality in you wasn't there before. That quality in you that allows you not to be overtaken by the sorrow, by the story of I'm too weak, I can't do this, becomes a doorway. Your weakness becomes a doorway to your strength. Your vulnerability, your sensitivity, your quality of your system that feels everything. So there are things you can do to help you with that. Part of it is happening already. It's your own individualization in a body. So the more you pull back your aura, because I can see it right now, your aura is very big. So the more you pull in your aura, like you're pulling in a blanket, you're pulling it close to your body, the more the things that arise in you will not be influencing you on the subconscious, because they'll come and become available to you. You can feel them in your body. So the story around weakness or being overtaken or overwhelmed, all those things associated with that principle, where you came into the world very open, very sensitive, and the world kept bombarding it. So the structure of that particular structure of sensitivity is actually a part of a greatly awakened consciousness, but that is not yet embodied. How do we embody it? We do what you just did today. We take actions that are aligned with our higher consciousness. When you joined this program, you stepped outside of the habit of you that to stay expanded, aware, and unfortunately unduly sensitive, to strengthen you as a blade, as a sword for truth. So it's so important to have a daily practice. It's so important. 45 minutes twice a day. You have to do it, because otherwise you're too open. You'll get overtaken. You'll be weak all the time. You have to pull yourself back up by seemingly the bootstraps, but all you had to do is sign on.
Yeah. Can I ask you something about the meditations?
Okay.
Because usually why I stop when I meditate alone is because, or there's so much stories, I just go insane and I'm like, I'm just gonna go out of this. Or there's so much energy, I don't feel good. So it's usually the reasons why I quit.
All right, I got it. It doesn't mean you need to quit totally. It means that you need to develop the skill, the capacity to be with both those things. The mind starting to roar, because we educated humans use our mind to try to figure everything out, to figure out what I did right, what I did wrong, what can I do, should I do, shouldn't I do. And you take that quality of your consciousness when it's caught and you put it into your heart. You literally take that part that is thinking these thoughts and you put it into the physical location of your heart. Okay? Because in the moment you do that, you become aware of your heart. And your heart is inclusive, not exclusive. The mind is exclusive, not inclusive. So when you put into the heart, all these conflicting things start coming together and quieting. So that's one. First step is to put it into your heart. And the second step is the instructions for grounding and bringing in your aura. Did you receive those instructions where I talked about creating a grounding cord to the center of the earth?
I think I heard it once.
Something about that.
Well, it's also be good for her to watch the meditation video.
Yes, but I don't give this specific instruction.
So you should then.
Yeah, I will. I probably should do another extension. I have 3 short meditation videos on the website now, right? But the technique's very simple. You imagine your awareness as a seer that is unbounded. And you consciously bring your awareness more and more into your body, like into your room, into the chair, into you in your body. And you just bring it in like a cloak, like you just make your awareness just like a cloak around your whole body. Be aware of your feet, your legs, your torso, your arms, your neck. So you're just there in your body, in your awareness. Okay, then if there's any energy in your body that's too uncomfortable for you being with, you imagine a channel, I call it the umbilical, that goes all the way down from the first chakra to the center of the earth. And you take all that unwanted energy and drain it down. For you, it has to go down, not up, down. Into your body, into your gut, into your heart, into your gut, into your second chakra, into your first chakra, and down this grounding cord that's 3,200 miles below you. You're sitting on Mother Earth right now. She's connected to you through this grounding cord, even though it's her umbilical to you. You just use that to send it back to the mother. She likes this shit. She wants all the energy she can get. So you send whatever crap you think is crap to her, and she loves it. She eats off of elephants. She's matter, embodied matter, consciousness of matter. Do that before you meditate, or do that in the midst of your meditation to help you deepen and stay in the meditation. Okay, practice that twice a day before the 45-minute sitting. Start reading and writing the Mother Book and the Gita. And I assure you that what's come will continue to grow and strengthen. You'll discover that your weakness was the doorway to your strength.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Next, we have Hugh.
You and Nella, welcome.
All right.
Good to see the
There's
team.
2 for 1.
We got a 2 for 1. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Well, let's make good use of these 5 minutes.
Yes.
This is about mother. Listening to Satyamayi talking about the coming information about mother,
Yes.
the book, and me being right now a mother of 2 teenagers and 2 other students who are living with us, who I have adopted as my children too, like many of everyone who step in my house. And recalling what Shree said about the Dharma of a student, of a teenager, of adulthood. So considering those elements, I found myself yesterday in a situation where I wanted to empower these triggers, one boy. I wanted to empower the girls to experience themselves. And I found myself in a conflict between guidance or boundaries, creating boundaries, but also that natural urge of me of nurturing, of taking care of protecting.
And of fixing.
Yes. And then the fixing, I have to say, I feel proud of it. I didn't want to fix it, but I wanted to be of a greater good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was a conflict between protecting based on what, or guidance, and also that sense of responsibility more than fixing, the responsibility. And also be able to, there was a big condition or a big structure that came in, and it was about owning and be free to express the sexuality of a woman as much as for a man, for a boy and a girl. And I could see myself saying, oh, a girl, it could be, I feel more protected of that, of the sexuality of a girl than of the boy. Yeah, I don't need to say anything else.
So let me respond to what you brought forward, Nella, because there was a lot there. What's happening is you're making very rapid progress, and your consciousness is becoming empowered by the World Mother, your link with the purpose and the World Mother. Only it's trying to manifest too soon. You're trying to bring it into the world without taking into account the listening. You want to sing the song, and the song wants someone to hear it. So you're trying to create people who will listen to the song that you're carrying right now, that wants to just sing. The whole woman, feminine principle of the manifesting principle that you are, and that is now in abundance, that really wants to express herself. You need to hold this, not express it. Hold it as an energy in your body, because that's the current. And own it, be the container. And that holding it expands your ability to hold this force. That's the part of you that can be silent and still, without an agenda, without manifesting, without helping or fixing or mothering, other than the necessities that come from your responsibility as the person playing the role you are. Just play the role, but be detached from how it needs to look. The only time you have a role to play is if they come to you. and they ask you, say, Mom or Nella, I'm having this come up. Your role then is really, you could just be neutral and listen to them, receive what their song is, then your song goes to them. So be the listening rather than the talking. And that's the tendency of the Shakti, is it wants to do all the talking. But the nature of the truth is it wants to be it's a silent, still part that can receive and listen. So strengthen the listener. And give space for your children to be just as they are within the boundaries of the structure of your role in keeping things in order. So that is my recommendation at this stage, and let this force grow in your body.
So being a Rajasic nature,
Yeah.
and also, but I'm proud of myself doing my homework, my meditation and stillness twice a day. So I hear that the trust that holding this energy is going to do, the action is going to be manifested.
That's right. They're going to get it at levels that they can't know yet. The more you embody this, the more you're a demonstration of it without you even having to say a word.
Yeah, because Nella, who you are is the nurturer. I mean, that is the truth of the feminine, is we're the ones that give birth. We're the nurturers. You know, we feed the world. We take care of the mother. All of that is true. You do, and you hold that within you without even having to take an outward action. It's just what you are.
And the nature of the buildup of the Shakti, because that's what's going to happen, the buildup of the Shakti, it's going to be very an exaggeration of all bodily sensations, including sexual sensations. And there will be this empowering of the structure of you as a woman. All of this becomes, you're coming into the greater goddess truth that you are. And it's hard to hold that because all gods want to sing. Right? They want to express themselves. They want to find their children so they can nurture them. But in order for this to become stable in your system, you have to restrain all the actions that wants to give away the Shakti before the Shakti has had time to build in your system. Because when Shakti builds in your system, it becomes truth consciousness. And it does the transformation. Where the Shakti, if it's released, drains away the capacity of Shakti to be converted into truth consciousness. Okay, my dear, there's your challenge. Yay.
Nella, thank you. Hi, Hugh.
Next, we have Marie.
Marie, welcome.
So wonderful to see you both again.
Where did we see each other?
Pardon? We were in Chicago last year. You were
good.
Right.
All right.
Hey,
Yes.
Chicago person.
Now I remember. Now I connect. I need regions to get in the vicinity here. Yeah.
I understand. I really don't have a question specifically, but I really want to say thank you. I'm so grateful because everyone that you've talked with personally has just resonated with me and answered questions and answered concerns I wasn't, maybe not concerns, but things I didn't even know to vocalize. So I probably don't need the 5 minutes, and that will give other people a chance too, but I'm grateful to connect with you, to let you know that I'm here and loving this connection. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And this is one of the great advantages of this medium is we can hear each other. We can listen to each person sharing and find the echo within ourselves, which deepens our own ability to be in relationship with ourselves by listening to how it is for others. And what comes out of me for them may be directly applicable to that part of you. So it's kind of a shotgun effect where maybe I'm aiming at one thing, but it targets a much larger area. So remember too, though, guidance I give to one person may not be the same guidance that you would receive. So do know that. You don't want to hide out in that recognition alone. You want to not try to solve it from what I may tell someone else. That there is something where you can begin to experiment and explore, but ultimately to open up for the universe to show you what it is. That's your unique way to resolve or come to terms with that part in you. And your intent to have that happen will bring in the transformational forces and awareness that will allow you to move that issue just by being willing. All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tim.
Hey.
Namaste.
It really exists. Yeah. I guess you're in this field of blue, so I'm not sure you're in existence yet, right?
Oh, I am. I might be able to put on a light. Am I clearly visible?
No, you're fine.
You're fine.
It's it's blue behind you. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Blue,
Yeah,
light,
it's
dark.
light blue is the back of the wall.
Yeah, I got it.
Good
Yeah.
to see you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
From the sky, looking down. The sky,
Yeah.
the clouds.
Ooh.
All right, Tim, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. It's amazing being back and being able to communicate with you guys.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hadn't really had anything coming up like wanting to say, but the transmission of like the first 45 minutes, it almost blew me out. It was so strong. And I could feel it in the diaphragm. That something was popping up, and without having a question, like raise my hand.
All right, well, the diaphragm. Focus on
Yeah.
the diaphragm. Because that's what will keep us from being able to be with the opportunity of the transmission is showing. It would be the self-diminishment, the part that is afraid it can't do it or be overwhelmed or all that. So the diaphragm is an important area to focus on, even if there isn't an emotional quality to it right now. What are you noticing?
It's more a bit of pressure, and it seems linked to a part where just left of the belly button, and it seems connected to the back of the heart, like in between the shoulder blades.
Okay, very good. Every part of us is connected to every other part. So when we start moving in one area, it starts moving in other areas. So all you need to do is pay attention to the energy and to be there long enough to and simultaneously, and this is good for you, Tim, is to be aware of your whole body at the same time you're focusing.
Yeah, I feel it a bit lower in the belly. And there seems some pressure on the head.
It's trying to ground. It's trying to go down the first chakra into the earth. Try letting the current go down.
Okay. I can feel pressure in the knees as well.
Okay, good.
And in the feet.
How's the area behind your heart? What's happening there? Did it quiet?
It is releasing, like popping underneath the shoulder blades.
Got it. All right. So really, you're very, very present in the energetic body, and you're doing a very good job in terms of meeting the entire energetics of your body. I'll just point to the nature of the stress. It's the part of you that brought yourself into life. It's the part of you that strives to be a person, that presents itself in a certain way, that's seeking to get something, that's seeking to protect itself. So it's the gearing up, getting ready. And it has to do with all those things you point to: your survival, your personal power, the lower belly, the diaphragm. It's not safe, or I don't know if I can, or I have to be more than I think I am. So those are, I call, existential stresses that everybody carries, which prevents us from being truly relaxed in the body. But once you start touring these stresses, your body becomes more open, more able.
What was the word you used? Touring?
The body becomes more open, more able to be able to receive and move the current. Part of it also is the current wants to have a bigger work than you're doing right now. It needs a bigger outer expression.
That's what I feel as well, definitely.
Yeah, because
it comes in like during the 9 days, and in many, like I was about to send you an email, like I wanted to set up before GTP to do silent sitting and facilitate it. But then this other part is like, okay, well, there's the answer.
There it is. That's it. You need a big enough arena for this to then really start moving. So we're going to invite you in any way we can support you in being able to find a structure. And the GTP is one. And then meditation, world peace meditations, groups, inquiry group, any of these can. But I'd invite you to come to the training, not get too involved yet. Let the training, the structure of the training, go through the GTP first, and then start manifesting.
That's why I thought better wait with the facilitating meditations or silent sittings until after GTP.
Yeah. And then just join me in the world peace meditations when you can. Join me in these programs, because you will be working with me energetically as I do this work.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you to both of you. The heart is melting. Cannot stop it.
All right.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Next we have
And tell her what's going on.
Hey,
Trish.
Trish. She's back.
You got David hanging around somewhere? Oh, there he is, running in the background.
He's in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, everything you've said so far has really been resonating, and thank you for talking about the mother piece and bringing that in. I only have one child, and I wanted to have more children, but I had many miscarriages. So I feel really blessed to have one child, but children are coming into my life. I've got, David has a godchild, and so then we worked on a construction project together. So now I'm his fairy godmother, but now his brother's jealous. So now his brother wants to be part of the action, but then the cousins got jealous. So all my godchildren are coming today. And so I have all these grown children coming into my life. And I was doing teaching before, and I retired, and I felt not a need to be a teacher like my identity, but it was the service of it. So I found a position where I could be an aide, and I have my administrative credential. And so I had to deal when I first came with you, like, don't worry about the ego. I just had this need to keep doing the service. Like I could not do the service. But now my job is taken away, and I feel very, very calm. I don't feel the need now to do that. And I feel this calmness, but what I'm supposed to be doing keeps coming to me. Things will show up that I'm supposed to do. So I'm creating programs, Zoom programs and things where people can come and sing, maybe who are not necessarily known for singing, because that's what David and I do, creating a safe spot so people can be joyful. And so things I never would have expected, because when I do singing, usually if there's a curtain, I'll stand behind the curtain. And if there's a mic, that'd be fine with me. So my voice can be part of the choir, but I don't need to be seen. I don't particularly like that. That causes me a lot of stress. and I'm not stressing now. I feel really relaxed around it. So a lot of changes that have nothing to do with anything I've earned or grown into or are just coming.
So Trish, do you have a question, or you just want to find my feedback, or is you just
Yeah.
want to share?
Yeah, the feedback of
Let me give you the feedback because we don't have enough time.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this the right work? Am I on the right path?
Very good. That's the question to always keep asking yourself when you start creating projects.
Is this it?
I assure you, when you start creating projects, you're giving away your energy. You're not letting it build. The thing that was most important for you was calmness. That is what you want to nurture. That calmness that comes without doing anything, no doer, taking out the doer, because that from the calmness comes this capacity for doing that's greater than without the calmness. The more you dive into the calmness, the more it'll deepen. And it'll become a place within you that is more satisfying, deeply more satisfying than the doing. And this is how you become more useful. Not through your doing, but through your being. Get it?
Well, I was feeling that. I was so relieved. And I wasn't in a fear place when the COVID came. I thought, oh, thank God the world is slowing down. And I felt a little guilty. And I remember talking to you about it. I was just feeling so much joy of being quiet and doing nothing was just so wonderful.
Because it's aligned with your Dharma right now. It's exactly what you should be doing more of. Okay? So there's your walking orders.
And thank you, Satchimayee, about talking about bringing in the
Yeah, thank you, Trish. Okay.
Next, we have Yosine.
Yosine. All right.
Aha.
Hello.
Namaste. So good to see you both.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I just felt like checking in. I'm doing all right, but not but. I'm very out in the world where everyone is moving.
Are you doing your
inwards.
work? Are you in the medical field working?
Yeah, I'm fully working now. Picked up my training again, picked up another training, but still have time to do my practice at home. And so it feels good.
Yep. Yep. You've made it through that transition.
It feels so much more stable than embodied.
Yep.
So that feels really right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to check in and connect.
I love it. I love what's there in you now. You can feel that authority, that current of capacity that you carry, and it too needed a big enough arena, but you weren't ready for the big enough arena. And really, the big enough arena is just every day coming into life.
That's what I feel. For the first time, I can be myself, working, my true self, and it's amazing how people resonate. And even because I'm doing a whole health medicine training as well with international doctors all over the world.
Yeah.
And I can just speak about it freely, and people who are very much Western-based doctors keep asking me about it and are really skeptical, but still want more information. So it's I feel
what is speaking, whatever the content is secondary.
Yeah.
What's coming through your words.
Yeah.
So they're being drawn to what you've become.
And the funny thing is, I where I always felt like, and you've noted, you know this about me, about changing the world and making a difference. It's not there anymore. I can just live my life, and whatever crosses my path, it's really small, but it feels good. That it's
truth. Truth is in the deep. Truth is in the minutia of each day, in each moment. God lies in the detail. Also, the devil lies in the detail. But the principle here is that you're now walking your path.
I can feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And even with dealing with change, it's so I'm in awe in how easy it is to adapt to the constant change, even in the medical world, of all the new information. It's just all the protocols are changing every day, and it's
You're right there in the ground reality of this coronavirus and how it's impacting people individually. So this is your role as a physician is just extraordinarily the front lines of this transition. And this is where the world mother needed you. So
I can feel that now. And I there's no need also to know where this is going. I'm just, So I'm really happy and thankful to both of you for helping me get through this, because it's been a roller coaster of a year, but really happy to be where I'm at now, and confident to be able to hold whatever is coming. So thank you for that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Love you.
So our next person has the screen name of iPad 2.
iPad 2.
Oh, that's me. Hi.
What's your real name?
Lena, and we met in Copenhagen.
Yes, Lena, I recognize.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Lena.
Hello. I so relate to a lot of what has been shared here, especially those people who talked about the body sensations and the currents in the body, because that has been a major issue with me for many years. And I feel the currents are becoming somehow faster and different, but it's also extremely suffering. It's creating a lot of suffering in the body also. At the same time, it's very, very hard to contain so much energy in the body. And I wish it could flow through me. And I have a sensation in the first chakra that it is also always very painful, and it reacts to fear and different things that are unpleasant, and then the current gets stronger. So and also I feel pain in different parts of the body at times. I'm not actually sick, although I am right now. It's resulted in a reflux situation with my stomach, and it's very painful. So when the current gets too fast and too difficult for me, too painful, too suffering for me, I get physical diseases from it. And I am at a loss to what to do about it, except just to endure it and try to be with it, because I don't know what else to do.
I mean, that's what you've got on the plate right now. It's interesting because I shared about the person who was in deep despair. They were having much pain in their body. So I sat with them and I said, okay, well, let's find out where the pain is. So first thing he came up with was pain, and he found it in his belly. In your case, it's your first chakra. Your first chakra is your plug. It's like the circuit that's forcing the force to back up instead of flow through. And that's where our survival, our physical fear of survival exists. It's programmed in the early biological formation of ourselves as a baby and so on. So there's always that stress. Everybody has some degree of that. You can address this by literally meeting that constriction, because you didn't describe that as suffering, but as a constriction. The suffering is the backing up of the energy.
Yeah.
The suffering is actually not the pain of the backup of the energy or the actual sensation of the backup of the energy. It is something else. So the word suffering is pointing to our unwillingness to be with pain.
To be with what?
Pain. Suffering.
Oh, I've had so much pain, yes.
Okay, so suffering is the part that doesn't want to be with pain. Pain.
Right,
So if you
right.
take suffering off and put it to one side, you meet pain. Pain is that is due to suffering is resistance to pain, which creates a greater pain. It's a pain, it's an attitude of resisting the pain that's arising, which feeds the resistance of the pain that's arising. So what you have to do is take that off too, take pain off and be with the energetic component of it without a label, no label. Because resistance is fed by mind. It's fed by the programming. So be in the energetics of the buildup of the energy. When you
I have a feeling that if I let go, I will die.
well,
It's
that
like the
part
fear
of
of
you,
death.
the part of you
Yeah.
that doesn't want to let go would die.
Yeah. It's like there's so much control in my body
Yeah.
that if I let that control go, I'm gonna die.
Okay, so if that's there, that's a story, by the way. That's just
I
a
know
story
it's
about-
a story. It's a powerful story.
It's only because you made it powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the fact is, it's just an event that's happening in your body. It's no big deal if you just get over it, because it'll start just flowing. So let's focus on the first chakra. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. You go down
Okay.
there, right there,
Okay.
in this territory, and feel the clench. You know, the tight ass, this clench in you down there. Tell me when you get in touch with it.
Oh, but it's there all the time. It's right
Okay.
there right now.
Right there. Good. So all you need to do is be with it without a story. That's just a sensation. Feel the clench. Okay. Let the clench be there. Now take the clench off, or whatever word you're saying, the contraction. Take that word off too. And now see if you can be with just the energy there. Okay. And as you be with the energy, imagine a relaxation, as if you can choose to relax that part of yourself. Like open it up. Like you were going to have a bowel movement. It's just this opening it up, allowing what wants to move down through that part of you and just go all the way out of you. And while you're doing that, I want you to also have some of your attention on your whole rest of your body. Your head, your shoulders, your back, your arms, your torso, your lower chakras, your thighs, your legs, your feet. While at the same time, you're looking to let the first chakra relax and open.
Something's definitely changing.
Yes, just stay there. And now I'm going to give you one more instruction. I want you to feel this force that's running the current in your body and direct it down that first chakra to the center of the earth. You're pointing towards the center of the earth. Just let it flow through that first chakra. As if it wants to just empty out, flush out, ground itself. It's in your imagination, but you're actually opening the passageway for it to learn to move all the way through your body. Yeah, in the small of your back, I'm feeling the back channels opening up. So keep doing it. Beware of the front channels, the heart, the stomach. Same time, all that is creating space for the energy to flow. Yeah, going to the throat. Okay, there's your acid reflux. Yeah, both sides of your head. I can feel it's coming in through the crown. So your crown is like a lotus that's opened up. It's open. Your seventh is open. So everything's coming from above and now trying to run all the way through your body, downward this time. You're directing it downward. It can also come upward, but right now, downward.
It's very powerful.
Yes, because now the current is grounding. Your heart's expanding. I can feel your whole system's changing. Whee! This is fun. Hey, we're running out of time, so Nina, I'm going to have to just leave you in the process you're in and let this continue as we go listen to other people.
Okay.
Okay, but your system's working perfectly right now. Just let it continue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. One more. How many are still on the list?
There are 4. And
all right. Well, not bad.
Here's the.
Okay. Namaste. What's your name?
You've met Secret's been here to Washoe Valley before.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Secret. Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. Well, this is after many, many, many years. I can relate to everything that you're saying to everybody, of course. And it's been a very, very challenging time for me, not because of COVID-19. Actually, that made me realize the reason I've been doing all of this. So it was a moment of great joy when all that, it was suddenly burden lifted when I realized, oh, that's why I've been doing all of this. But since I left, I live on a rural farm off the grid in countryside of Costa Rica, on a farm where we do sustenance farming.
Oh my God.
Very cool.
So not much has changed.
Wi-Fi of anyone.
and I have computer access. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say hello after all these years, and just there's so much I would like to share to help with what I've been going through on my path. But I will like to just say about the first time we met that I'm working on that. What happened back there? Maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I don't remember. It was in the living room.
It's been that long, but it's been a while, Secret.
Yeah, it was in the very cold climate there.
Yes.
And, we were in the living room, and then we were in a yurt in the mornings, and
that was our meditation.
Yeah.
Even we have changed. Now it's all online.
You guys have, everybody's changed a lot. So I stood up. I think I stood up after the Satsang. I don't know what happened exactly, but you looked at me and you pointed and you said containment. That was really all you said. And I think it's really only in the last 3 years, I had to fall pretty hard to start climbing back up to realize that's what I was working on. And I remembered that lesson. And now that I've been working on that seriously, all the consequences of trying to contain it all, and rather than spewing it out, is starting to affect me very profoundly. So I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Yes, you have to come into life with all that's hidden. We have to meet it all at the level of its manifestation to actually start dismantling its hold over us. So,
yeah,
it sounds like, I planted a seed, which has sprouted.
Yeah. And when you talk about not being taken over, everything you say, so much just hits home, makes so much sense. And thank you very much for your teachings. And I'm really glad that I can participate in this event. Thank you for offering it, both of you, and everybody who's, I know it's
Secret, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back on and after all this time.
Yeah.
All right.
And Secret, let there be no more secrets. Namaste.
Namaste.
I couldn't help myself. All right. So it is a celebration. It's a celebration of what we actually are together. And in truth, we activate our capacity for a very inclusive love that doesn't carry an agenda, a love without preconditions or expectations or demands or insistences, but a free love that empowers us to be aligned with ourselves in the truth of what we are, living through this time, through this era, playing the part that life brings to us to be the start point where we can manifest this new consciousness in whatever aspect of our life is currently arising, so that in this detail, in this minutia of your own life, you can see that how that can be a doorway, be it darkness or be it light, to how to come into the fullness of the opportunity that you were born for and that you're here to actualize, to make real. So there you have it. The Bhagavad Gita in times of peril. We just did it. This is the instructions. This is the manual. Now read the book and the mother book and do the practice and meet your days. You put it to action. This is your battlefield. And you get to do it together. And every time we gather, there'll be an opportunity to check in, see how it's going. So that's the invitation, and that's what we keep bringing forward, for us to get together and gather, to align ourselves so more of us get connected to our ability to make the difference that we're here to make. All right.
I have one announcement.
Okay, we have an announcement.
For those of you who are in Europe, you're going to be receiving an email today that's for a special Euro package for our Mariana Kaplan's Yoga and Psyche. So check your email. I think a couple of people had asked me about doing something, and so we were able to make it work. So I just want to make sure that you saw that. Okay.
And just to inform you that Mariana's work is about embodiment. It's about meeting the issues in your body, developing your body as a tool of recognizing truth and untruth. So she's a powerful adjunct to the work we do, into bringing in a piercing, intelligent presentation of the structures of that which bypasses the fact of our own human embodiment. So it is something that I encourage those of you who are open to this, where you start meeting the content of trauma we all carry, wittingly or unwittingly, in our bodies, as a means of purifying our vessel to be a more and more perfect channel for truth consciousness. Okay, thank you. That said, we're going to finish with my favorite part. We just sit silent and still together, no expectations, just be with yourself. We'll do 5 minutes. Just let in whatever comes in, open up to what's already there. Pay attention to your body, to the energy field of your body. Consciously breathe. Bring yourself present with yourself here, now. Let us begin. Hari Om Dhat Sat. Hari Om Dhat Sat. Hari Om Dhat Sat Shri. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste. And thank you.